Where is my best friend? In the peaceful town of Maplewood, Emily and Zoe were inseparable friends. They lived next to each other, went to the same school, and even had matching bracelets. One could often hear their laughter echoing in the streets as they played and shared secrets. One sunny Monday, Zoe wasn't at the school bus stop. Emily thought maybe she was sick or running late. But when Zoe didn't show up for the next couple of days, Emily started to worry. She missed her friend terribly. She decided to visit Zoe's house after school. As she knocked on the door, Zoe's mother answered with red, swollen eyes. Zoe's father got a new job, and we had to move to another city, she said, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, dear. We wanted to say goodbye, but everything happened so fast. Emily was heartbroken. She went to their favorite park, a place where they'd spent countless hours playing and daydreaming. She remembered the time when they promised each other they'd be friends forever, no matter where they were. Days turned into weeks, and Emily slowly adjusted to the absence of Zoe. She made new friends at school, but no one could replace her best friend. The matching bracelet Zoe had given her was a constant reminder of the bond they shared. One day, as Emily was leaving school, she received a letter with no return address. As she opened it, she recognized Zoe's handwriting immediately. Dear Emily, I miss you so much. I'm sorry we had to leave without saying goodbye. It's been tough adjusting to the new place, but I often think of our adventures in Maplewood. Remember our matching bracelets? I wear mine every day, hoping we'll meet again soon. Promise me we'll always be best friends, no matter the distance. Write to me soon. I can't wait to hear from you. Forever yours, Zoe. Emily felt a rush of emotions. She was happy to hear from Zoe and sad about the distance between them. She decided to write back immediately, telling Zoe about her life, her new friends, and how much she missed her. The two started exchanging letters frequently, keeping their friendship alive. As the years passed, they managed to meet a few times during vacations. Their bond remained as strong as ever, proving that true friendship could withstand any challenge, including distance. The radio years. Back in the 1950s, radios were the main source of entertainment for most families. In big cities and small towns alike, people would gather around their radio sets, eagerly tuning into their favorite shows or waiting for the latest news. But for young Sam, the radio was more than just a device for entertainment. It was a bridge to a whole new world. Sam lived in a bustling city, with skyscrapers touching the clouds and cars honking at every corner. However, his favorite moments were when he would sneak into his grandfather's study, sit in the old leather armchair, and switch on the large wooden radio. The glowing dials and knobs seemed like a gateway to a magical realm. Every evening, Sam would get lost in detective stories, imagining himself solving crimes in dimly lit alleyways. On weekends, he would laugh uncontrollably at comedy shows, picturing the scenes in his mind. The radio was his escape from the monotony of school and homework. One day, Sam discovered a channel that played music from different parts of the world. He would close his eyes and let the melodies take him on journeys to far-off lands. From the lively beats of African drums to the soothing tunes of Asian flutes, Sam traveled the world without leaving his grandfather's study. But it wasn't just the programs that fascinated Sam, it was also the idea of broadcasting. How was it possible to send voices and music through the air, reaching thousands, or even millions of listeners? This curiosity led him to start a small radio club at school. With a group of equally enthusiastic friends, they began experimenting, learning about frequencies, waves, and transmitters. The school's principal noticed their passion and offered them a corner in the school library to set up a small radio station. The team jumped at the chance. They named their station Youth Waves and started broadcasting news, interviews, and music for their fellow students. As the years went by, the importance of radios began to wane with the advent of television and then the internet. But for Sam and his generation, the radio years remained a cherished memory. It was a time of discovery, imagination, and a deep connection to the world beyond. Years later, Sam became a successful radio journalist, his voice resonating in households just like the ones he used to tune into as a child. The magic of the radio years stayed with him, reminding him of the power of stories and the wonder of exploration. Pollution, the biggest problem of us. It was a gloomy morning in Astoria. The usually blue sky was now masked with a blanket of grey smog. As Lisa walked to her office, she could feel the sting of polluted air in her eyes and throat. The once beautiful coastal town, known for its fresh air, had now joined the list of cities grappling with the menace of pollution. Lisa worked as an environmental journalist and had seen the gradual degradation of her town. Over the years, factories had mushroomed along the coast, belching smoke and dumping waste into the sea. Cars lined the roads, and the once clear waters were now murky. She remembered a time when she and her friends would spend hours at the beach, building sandcastles, and watching the sunset. Now, the beach was littered with plastic waste, and the sunset was just a dim glow behind the haze. Lisa decided to raise awareness about this alarming situation. She started writing articles and hosting seminars about the harmful effects of pollution on health and the environment. She emphasized how pollution was not just an environmental issue but also a significant health risk. From respiratory diseases to the contamination of food and water sources, pollution was silently affecting everyone. However, Lisa knew that merely raising awareness wasn't enough. She initiated a Clean Astoria campaign, mobilizing volunteers to clean the beaches and streets. They also planted trees and started a community garden, promoting the importance of green spaces in urban areas. The local school joined the movement, educating students about pollution and its effects. The students became ambassadors of change, taking the message to their homes and communities. They started recycling drives and even approached local businesses, urging them to adopt sustainable practices. Over time, Lisa's efforts began to show results. The local government imposed stricter regulations on factories, ensuring they had proper waste disposal systems. Public transport was promoted to reduce the number of cars on the roads. The town also invested in renewable energy sources, reducing its dependency on fossil fuels. A decade later, Astoria began to breathe again. While it was still a long way from regaining its pristine beauty, the changes were evident. The air was fresher, the waters clearer, and there was a renewed sense of community among its residents. Lisa's story is a testament to the power of collective action. Pollution might be one of our most significant challenges, but with awareness, determination, and community participation, it is a problem we can overcome. As Astoria showed, when a community comes together, even the most daunting challenges can be tackled. When I was a kid. Back when I was a kid, things seemed so different. The summers felt longer, the ice creams tasted sweeter, and every scraped knee was a badge of honor. Living in the small town of Maplewood, my world was a bubble of simple joys and endless adventures. Our house was a classic two-story building with a white picket fence, just like in the movies. Behind it was a massive garden where my younger sister, Mia, and I would spend hours. We would chase butterflies, build secret hideouts, and pretend we were in a magical land. Each tree, bush, and flower had its story. On weekends, our parents would take us to Maplewood Park. The park had the biggest slide in town, and getting to the top felt like climbing Mount Everest. Once at the top, the view was mesmerizing, with the whole park stretching in front of us, filled with kids running, laughing, and playing. Rainy days had their charm too. Mia and I would sit by the window, watching the raindrops race, each of us cheering for one. Once the rain stopped, we would jump into puddles, seeing who could make the biggest splash. The local store, Mr. Johnson's, was our favorite haunt. He had a candy section that seemed to stretch for miles. With just $1, we felt like the richest kids in town, debating for what felt like hours on which candy to choose. Mr. Johnson always greeted us with a smile and sometimes slipped an extra candy into our bags. But it wasn't just the places, it was the people who made my childhood special. Our next-door neighbor, Mrs. Green, was an elderly woman who would tell us stories from her younger days. She spoke of a time when there were no smartphones or computers, and kids played games like hopscotch and hide and seek on the streets. To Mia and me, it sounded like a fairy tale, and we hung on to every word she said. When I was a kid, I believed in magic. Every lightning bug caught in a jar was a captured fairy, every gust of wind was a message from an unseen world, and every night, I genuinely believed the moon followed me home. Now, as an adult, I often find myself nostalgic for those simpler times. The world seems more complicated, the days more rushed. But every time I visit Maplewood and pass by our old house, the park, or Mr. Johnson's store, I'm reminded of the magic of childhood, the joy of discovering the world for the first time, and the belief that anything is possible.